Hey Tally, what's the matter?
Oh, hi Evie. I'm just down because I finished the last of the Covenant campaigns, which means now this patch is basically over.
Oh, that is sad. Are you sure there's nothing left to do?
I'm certain. I finished the raid, I finished the story, I'm happy with my item level.
Hello, Taliesin.
I've got all my legendaries, I've upgraded my Covenant Sanctum.
Taliesin, I need you to do something for me.
Got all my transmog and mounts, maxed my reputations. I even finished the Twisting Corridors.
Wow, nice one.
Yeah, thanks, it was horrible.
And there's nothing else to do?
I'm sure. Sorry. Hello?
Taliesin, I have lots of quests for you here. I haven't seen you since week 2. Is everything okay?
Who was it?
I have no idea, probably some sales call. Anyway, I just wish there was more to do to keep me occupied.
Yeah, it's a shame there isn't any more.
Oh, wait, of course there's more. How could I have been so stupid?
You thought of more to do?
Of course I did. Pet battles.
Wow, you're really desperate.
Knowledge is power.
Hello, Internet, Taliesin here, and welcome to another episode of the Weekly Reset, Taliesin and Evitel's wondrous wisdom show in a week, where Ion Hazzikostas has put the cat amongst the pigeons by saying not very much at all in an interview, but which has nonetheless sparked fierce speculation in the community about patch 9.1, and indeed the whole future of Shadowlands, and when exactly that future will be, but also, probably more importantly, sparked fierce debate about the expansion's in-game systems, notably gearing, and how that might change in the very near future. Plus, there's more changes to Torghast, yeah I know, plus there's last week's Torghast event, and the final for now conclusions of the 4 Covenant campaigns to review, all after we've covered the reason I know you're already here, Castle Nathria and the Race to World First. Heroic for every guild in the world with a name a bit like Immortalis. The competition that our guild, the real-life, actual, honest, salt of the earth, people's champions who smell good and are good, Immortalis Argent Dawn EU, yay! Basically just made up so that we had a race to win, but which we hardly ever win, kind of like the British with cricket, or football, or rugby, or golf, or badminton, or table tennis, or even curling. Like, we can't even win at curling. Darts! Yeah, we'll kick your ass at darts, world. Suck it. And if you're not a fan of this section of the show, and you know, lots of people aren't, then fret not, because this is the last you'll hear of it, as the race is officially over for this tier, and we have a winner. Heartbreakingly for the entire world, it's not us who are being crowned champions today. We've been making steady progress this last week and currently sit within a few health percentages of killing Sludgefist at 7 out of 10. No, ladies and gentlemen, hearts in chat for Umbra Immortalis, officially the first guild in the world with a name a bit like Immortalis to beat Sire Denathrius Heroic. Congratulations to them, commiserations to last season's champions Est Immortalis, who were hot on their tails. We're currently in 7th place out of 15 guilds. We'll let you know how and where we end up. And if even we have the end of raid progress in sight, then it really is time to start thinking about the end of the patch and looking forward to the next one. Last week, the Covenant campaigns reached their 4 dramatic conclusions, and I don't usually ask this, but how was it for you? How were you all feeling about the end of the story for the entire patch? I'm not going to spoil it or go into too much detail here, because we want to do a separate, complete roundup as our next non-weekly reset video. But basically, over the course of the last 8 weeks, the Kyrian did a lot of learning and discovering. The Venthyr built an Infinity Gauntlet and got revenge for someone you might like against someone you might also like. The Necrolords stole a necropolis like total badasses, and the Night Fae campaign was just basically the final episode of a long-running show, stuffed full of as many character cameos as possible in like 3 or 4 different storylines, only one of which sort of got tied up by the end. Which was my favourite? You'll have to wait for the video. Which is the rubbishest one that I hate, and seriously, Blizz, what are you even doing? You'll have to wait for the video, although now I think of it, that would be a good title for the video. All things considered, I think the Covenant campaigns have been a success. They're more coherent than WoD or BFA's war campaigns, and far bigger and more dramatic than Legion's Order Hall storylines. Contrary to some of the things I'd heard, there was only minimal overlap between the 4. Bastion and Revendreth both share 1 chapter each, with Maldraxxus giving the Necrolords technically the least unique questing experience out of anyone, but I actually really enjoyed their campaign a whole lot more than I thought I was going to. Again, from what people had told me about it in advance. And overall, having the campaign quests to unlock every week gave me the same kind of endgame story vibes as Suramar. And I've said before that I consider Suramar to be one of the best endgame experiences Blizzard have ever given us. And this is like 4 Suramars, but without the attached rep grind. So yeah, you can consider me down with Covenant campaigns. And I'm pretty excited about how Blizz can now build on this method of story delivery for the rest of the expansion. Last week we also got to see how Blizz go about building on Torghast as a gameplay mode for the next couple of years, with our first Torghast event, Beasts of Prodigum, where you have the option of choosing a Moor pet to fight by your side, and yeah, it was fine. Like, it was a nice change, and I appreciated it, but I'm not going to be like, guys, you know what week it is? It's Beasts of Prodigum week! Everyone to Torghast and bring your party hats. Make sure you haven't had too much fun already before you get there, though, because Beasts of Prodigum is so fun that you'll die of too much fun having. It's more like, oh, cool, do I want to take this pet or the other anima power that I kind of prefer? People still either love or hate Twisting Corridors, and I'm not going to talk about that other than to say I'm still really enjoying it. I haven't completed it yet, and anything over layer 4 I really like to be in a group for. But rather splendidly, Blizz have clarified this week that any legendary power that you would usually get as a drop from a specific wing of Torghast can drop in the Twisting Corridors. So for example, if you are a Death Knight looking for Memory of a Frozen Champion's Rage because you want to be the ballingest Mythic plus Frost DK there is, then you don't need to hang around waiting for Skoldus Halls to rock up in the rotation with all your Mythic plus buddies like, bro, why are you wearing Koltira's Favour? Where's your Rage of Frozen Champion, bro? What is this, amateur hour? We want to time this +5, you know? Come back when you're bis, scrub. And instead, just mosey on down to Corridors layer 3 or higher, and then hope that you zone into a Skoldus Hall version of the Corridors. And if you don't, leave and re-queue until you do zone into a Skoldus Hall version, and then complete the first 6 floors for your sweet, sweet legendary drop. And just to be clear here, make sure it is the Corridors version of the wing you want. That is very important. I repeat, do not just do any old Corridors. And that's actually going to be really useful for someone, somewhere. Yeah, so much fun doing Torghast and Twisting Corridors. Sarcasm! Even layer 1 is no doable. Wasted 3 hours of my life and realised on 16th floor, what? I'm just wasting my life! Man, I can relate, but honestly, that revelation is not a Twisting Corridors thing. That's just a World of Warcraft thing, and we've all been there. Welcome. Anyway, if that all sounds a bit complicated, then Wowhead have a good guide, which we've put a link to in the description, because I don't have time to explain it again, because I want to talk about Ion Hazzikostas' interview with PC Gamer magazine this week about the future of Shadowlands. And when I say interview, I mean he literally answered 2 questions. It's actually kind of weird. The article, which obviously we're linking to as well, is basically just the journalist, Stephen Messner, saying, hey, Shadowlands is quite good, and I wonder when the next update is coming. And then we asked Ion Hazzikostas 2 questions. Here you go. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hang on, Taliesin, that's basically been this entire show for the last couple of episodes, except without the Ion Hazzikostas interview. And you're not wrong. But here's a quandary for you. If you could ask Ion Hazzikostas any 2 questions about Shadowlands, what would they be? PC Gamer went for, what should players be most excited about or looking forward to in WoW for 2021? And are there any big pieces of feedback that you're working to address? So about as milquetoast as you can get. Of course, the probability is that Blizz actually sent these statements to the magazine without actually being asked. And then they've turned it into an article, which is absolutely fair, but it means all this information is completely on Blizzard's terms. And so obviously there's nothing revelatory or massively surprising in there, but that doesn't mean it's not interesting, especially that second question where Ion says, I'm not going to do the voice, we significantly reduced the rate at which players earn item rewards, but at the same time also stripped away randomness and tried to give everyone more clear goals to pursue and control over their progress towards them. When it comes to PvP itemization specifically, we're really happy with how that's playing out, but we think we can do more to make the experience of running dungeons and raids feel more satisfying when you don't get a specific item that you were hoping for. And like, yeah, no shit. 5 minutes world quest, 250 anima. 40 minutes plus 15 key, 30 anima. Someone needs a firing. What? Holy shit. Oh boy, 35 anima, said nobody. This is a certified Ion Bra moment. I feel like I just got 35 anima from reading Ian's replies. My plus is really bad right now. Helping a friend with a lower key means you basically have to do another 14 on top, which is just a terrible system. And Okay, that's not how it works at all, but the overall feeling is clear. A lot of people think there is not enough rewards from PvE content in Shadowlands, and I totally agree. Where I differ from a lot of these loudest voices though, and I've said this before too, is that there's not enough gear. And I make no apology for this either. You all know that I disliked BFA's "here's tons of gear, good luck any of it being useful" approach, and wanted gearing to be a more lasting and specific process in Shadowlands. And I'm really enjoying what it's giving me right now. I'm not getting a lot of gear from Raid or Mythic Plus, and honestly, I don't always get something that I want from the Great Vault either, but I usually do, and it makes me think a lot harder about the different types of content on offer and what I need to do to actually get the gear that I need. An example, before Raid this week, I took my Covenant chest piece up to 197 using Anima and wore that because it was an improvement on what I had. And you might say, well, Taliesin, that just proves the point. What you had must have been total trash. But honestly, using a Covenant piece on my main felt really good, because that's the kind of gear that would never have found its way anywhere near my main in previous expansions. And that kind of variety and that need to be resourceful is something that I enjoy. And I like that it feels meaningful when I do upgrade. I don't expect everyone here to agree with me, and that's okay. You're allowed to feel differently about the gearing system in a video game than I do. I'm just giving my opinion. It's my name on the channel. And yeah, it's a different story on alts, but again, I just feel really happy with where PvE gearing is right now. I totally feel it, it's kind of my vibe. Where I do totally agree with the criticism, and I think this is probably what Ian means when he says, we think we can do more to make the experience of running dungeons and raids feel more satisfying, is that there needs to be more secondary rewards from Raid and Mythic Plus, because that 35 Anima is horrendous, especially from Raid bosses, which aren't spammable in the same way that Mythic Plus dungeons are. I think we'll probably see an increase in Anima rewards across the board at some point soon, and that would be great. But when I read a lot of these comments, I don't think they are talking about Anima. I think what a lot of people really want is currency. Valor points, a vendor and we're good. Bring back badges, this isn't hard. The return of the PvE currency grind, just like in Burning Crusade right through to Mists of Pandaria, where completing dungeon and raids and dailies and weeklies awarded a badge or emblem or valor points, which were then used to buy or upgrade gear. And it's easy to see why this would be an idea which appeals to players who have just done their 10th key of the week without nary a loot drop in sight. The feeling that you are always making progress towards upgrading your gear, whether you get loot drops or not, would definitely help with the current problems of empty-handedness and disappointment. And it would absolutely fit with Blizzard's stated aims for Shadowland gearing as being deterministic in focus. So, could we be looking at the return of badges in Shadowlands, starting in 9.1? There would be literal parties in the street if it were announced at BlizzConline in a couple of weeks for sure. And you know what? If it's what people want, then why not? Give it to us, go wild. I hope they do. Personally, my gut feeling is that it would add a mandatory weekly grind to my play that honestly I could do without. Because make no mistake, raids and world quests and weeklies are one thing, but if badges are going to drop from the infinitely spammable Mythic Plus, then they are not going to be unlimited. There is going to be a cap, and you're going to have to hit that cap to be maximizing your gearing, and it's going to be a lot more than the 10 Mythic dungeons that you currently need to cap your Great Vault every week. And since it would be a much more efficient way of gearing in Mythic Plus than the Great Vault, suddenly you've gone from a relatively chill system where you've got a guaranteed choice of gear after doing 4 dungeons to serious players feeling obligated to knock out 15 or 20 a week for their shitting badges. And I know WoW Nostradamus, except when I am, which actually is quite a lot, but I don't think people are going to like that very much. However, I do agree with the player base, and apparently Ian as well, that there needs to be some more reward of some sort from PvE content when you're not getting your loot drops. Maybe a non-power based currency, a currency that you collect for unique transmog recolors. You call them the loser sets, because if you see someone wearing them, then you know they've done a lot of raiding and dungeons for not many loot drops. Yeah, feel free to tell me why I'm wrong about badges in the comments. I promise to read every single one. The other interesting thing in Ian's 2-question interview was when he said, "This year will see players delve deeper into the mysteries of the Shadowlands, including settings even more fantastical than what we've seen so far. I can't say too much more without getting into heavy spoiler territory, but an incredible journey lies ahead," which again doesn't really reveal anything. Hey guys, we just found out that we'll be going to other realms of the Shadowlands and maybe beyond the Shadowlands. Intergalactic transdimensional cosmological disco war. Oh yes. I mean, we knew that, but it does at least get us onto the topic of what those realms might be. And you know that this is basically my favorite game. So, internet, allow me to present you my top 5 speculations about where physically the Shadowlands story goes next. Helya's house. Helya is a right wrong-un. She made the Moorsworn, who used to be Kyrian, until Devos and the Forsworn teamed up with the Jailer because they were having a strop about their memories, and the Kyrian are not very happy about that. So we could totally be sold on a we need to storm Helya's house and free the Moorsworn that can be saved and kill those that can't sort of thing. Helya appears quite a lot in the Moor, but it's not unfeasible that she has created a pocket zone for herself in the Shadowlands. That's basically what she did for the Halls of Valor and Helheim, so it doesn't need to be more of the same aesthetic. It could be something totally new. Downside, we've already fought Helya as a boss twice in the last 2 expansions, so another might be overkill, but hey, it worked for Kelthus, so why not? Pros, story and raid potential for sure, as well as lots of cool fights against the Moorsworn, because the Moorsworn are absolute geezers, and I love them. Also, if we did kill Helya, like totally for reals though, then we could loot Thrall's axe that he's only just made, but threw at her head, and that might stop him moping around a bit. Option 2, Brokerland. Basically, those Oscar Pistorius looking mofos are sus, but are they sus because they actually are up to no good, or does Blizzard only want us to think that they are up to no good, only to reveal that all this time they have been collecting together the means that we will need to defeat the Jailer through the magic of capitalism and the miracle of the free market? Who knows? Not me, but whatever part of the Shadowlands the brokers come from seems like a given for us to visit at some point. Hey, wouldn't that be the perfect zone to have a currency to upgrade your gear with? There you go. Option 3, the cracks in between. Something we've seen a lot of in the Shadowlands zones so far are the Devourers, who come from the cracks in between the different realms of the Shadowlands. You will have seen them everywhere, and because of the drought they are only getting bolder and more powerful. Maybe 9.1 is the time that we need to go and face this problem head on. And what would their realm look like? Well, you may have missed it, but there is a side quest in Maldraxxus where we actually go through the cracks to capture a huge devourer, and the environment that they use to represent the cracks is the old Legion invasion point Orinor, here though called the Shattered Grove. Is this truly representative of where the Devourers come from, or more likely, is it just something that a quest designer used in the absence of any, as yet, designed or built real environments? The art team could go absolutely to town on this visually. Gameplay-wise, it would fit Blizzard's routine of having invasion points appearing on the existing leveling map. I might count that as a con, actually. And story-wise, it might even introduce us to some new or familiar cosmological forces that are at play in the let's just call it the Void. Is Void a good word for it? Option 4, and this is the one I'm very excited about, the Emerald Dream. Okay, so the Emerald Dream and Ardenweald are very clearly linked. We know that both Ysera and Ursok appear there at the end of the Emerald Nightmare raid, when we now know that they are also at the same time in a pod in Ardenweald getting put back together. If I had to speculate, then I'd say that Ardenweald is where the souls of Azerothian wild gods and lower, and it appears dragon aspects, physically recuperate, while their consciousness hangs out in the Emerald Dream, having a gay old time. Like, when Ursok's pod gets yeeted in the Afterlife cinematic, then his consciousness probably disappears from the dream, like someone disappears from the Matrix when you yoink the cable out of their head in real life. And yes, I'm saying that the Emerald Dream is Ardenweald's Matrix. You got a problem with that? That would make the Emerald Dream and Ardenweald essentially sister realms to each other, which would explain the Winter Queen's line about Ysera being her sister's pet in the leveling cinematic. Her sister being the one in charge of the sister realm, who also gave Ysera her dragon aspect powers in the first place, Ionar. Or, at a pinch, Freya, same difference. And with that link firmly established, there's any number of reasons why we might need to go to the Emerald Dream for a patch. The Void still has a presence there and could be using it to try and gain a foothold in the Shadowlands. The Jailer could be using it as a way of attacking Azeroth in the same way that the Void has in the past. We could just be chasing Tyrande on her gap year from hell. It does run the risk of being a bit too familiar, like Ardenweald, but green, but it's a place that we've always wanted to go, and this could be Blizzard's chance to finally make it happen in a big way. And who knows, it might be the perfect chance to lead into some big Elune stuff further down the road. Option 5, the Maw. But more. What's not to love? With a raid which is like the Twisting Corridors. No? Anyone? Okay, fine, forget about number 5. Ian never explicitly said it in the interview, but the journalist mentions later in spring as being a likely time for the next patch, and says they're just speculating, but I don't know, they have just supposedly been speaking with Ian before writing this. It seems like a weird thing to mention twice. But if we are in for a wait of another few months, then 9.1 is going to have to be big, and I think any one of these speculative zones could do the job and meet expectations. But what do you think? 9.1, what and where and why is it going to be? Give me all your best ideas in the comments that I can steal. So did you finish your Covenant campaign?
I did.
Oh, amazing. That's really good for this conversation that we're about to have.
Yeah, thank goodness.
But we don't want any spoilers, okay?
Oh,
This is a
okay, no
spoiler-free
spoilers.
episode. The spoilers come in a different video.
Okay.
But generally, how was the Covenant campaign experience for you?
You know, I actually really liked it. I liked coming back to it week after week, which I didn't think I was going to like. I thought I was going to be like, time-gated content. But I really, really liked it. The story, the Kyrian story that I did was really, really good. It felt cohesive in a way.
Yeah.
Like it, you know, it took me places. It
I
made
think-
me go like all over the map, and I liked that.
I think the Kyrian one is the most cohesive one. And I also think it's like, its big kind of finale is one of the more satisfying
It's
ones
cool.
as well. It's really cool,
I
actually.
really liked the last chapter of it.
Yeah,
Not gonna
yeah.
lie. I won't spoil it, but I liked it.
I feel like it had a really good opening, and then it kind of went into a nice kind of like sort of routine for the middle bit where they're going to different covenants and stuff for the same reasons each time, and then it like really kind of gathered steam at the end, and I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Really cool. Plus, I always felt like really satisfied when I finished a Kyrian chapter, because they all finish at Elysian Hold, obviously,
Yeah.
and you do something, and there's always that Elysian Hold music of like da da da, and so it always feels really epic no matter what you're doing.
Yeah,
and you're
yeah,
like, oh yeah, okay, I feel like I've achieved something
Yeah,
here, you know.
yeah. I'm gonna miss it.
Yeah, me too. Where, I mean, we don't know when the next patch is coming out,
No clue.
but where do you want the next patch to be? Where do you want it to go? What zone? If you could have any zone in the Shadowlands, what zone would it be?
Well, it's gonna be one of the other dead places, isn't it? Places of death.
Probably yes.
I don't know what it's going to be, but I am looking forward to having a new little thing coming out of Oribos. That, you know...
A squiggly thing.
Yeah, a new squiggly
There
thing.
are like a lot of empty
There
portal
are-
places.
Yeah,
in
there are
Oribos.
lots of those gates around, right? So I'm ready for like the moment where you see the new gate being activated or whatever. And I
haven't
wonder
actually-
what color it's gonna be. Purple? Like
I hadn't thought of any of these
right?
things. This
Oh,
is why
see,
we
this
have
is
you on
how
the
my
show.
brain works.
This is why we
This is how
need
my
you on
brain
this show,
works.
because what you thought of, you were like, what color is the portal going to be? Where's the wiggly thing going to go? This is the kind of hard-hitting journalism we need.
Thank you.
This is what this
Thank
channel
you,
lacks
Tally.
when you're not here.
Thanks, Tally.
I'm
I
so
like
sorry.
to bring this perspective wherever I go.
It's unique. So we've got the realm where, you know, bad souls are made to repent. We've got the realm where like nature stuff recuperates. We've got the realm which is all the fighting and that, and we got the realm which is like where you know, burdened souls live a life of service. So what other realm? What other kind of life is there? Because those are ones that like have a very specific purpose in the Shadowlands. I
Yeah.
guess like. Not every realm can have a specific purpose, right?
Right.
So I reckon there's one where it's like, hey, you were quite nice.
Fine.
Here's quite a nice place for you to hang out for the rest of the afterlife, right?
Fine.
And maybe, maybe, because that's not one people bother with, maybe that's where the jailer's like, I'm going to infiltrate this quite nice place, and all the quite nice people here, I'm going to make quite bad.
Oh.
And it will be like, heroes, quickly, champions. We're getting overrun by people who are quite bad.
Do you think there's a realm that's kind of like the good place, where it has kind of higher beings like manipulating the lives of
What, a realm?
souls?
A realm where like people just like where higher beings just dick with normal
Yeah,
people
yeah,
just for the hell of it.
yeah.
But it's nothing too bad.
No, it's not
It's
too
not
bad. It's
like-
just kind of like an experimental little bit.
Okay, so
Do you
if
think
you were
there's
like,
something
if you
like
were quite annoying
Yeah.
in life, it's like,
Exactly, it's like,
welcome,
well-
you were quite annoying in life, so now we're gonna just slightly
play
dick
with
with
you a little bit,
Just
yeah.
like nothing malicious, just slightly dick with you. Like, what's your favourite colour? Green. Awesome. Here's a red shirt. Ah, that's a bit annoying. Yeah, well, you were a bit of a dick.
Yeah,
so
just a tiny bit.
Here we go.
I literally just read a short story today where someone talks about hell, or just like the afterlife, as being a place where everyone is laughing all of the time.
What's it? I don't know the feeling.
Like
I'm really
just-
sorry.
I know. Well, exactly. But it's like everyone is just laughing. You know, like when you're on a plane and someone next to you is just kind of laughing to themselves, like watching some sitcom.
Jean-Paul Sartre said that hell is other people,
Mm-hmm.
but Shadowlands proves that hell is no mounts.
Hell is someone like riding around on a longboy and not stopping. I see you, people. I see you. I see you.
Honestly, I know I did it as a bit of a meme, getting the long boy at the end of last expansion, and also because there wasn't much else to do.
No.
But I am so pleased.
Yeah, you should
like,
be.
If
You
I
should
mean,
be.
that's
I'm really jealous.
I'm
It's a
so
really
pleased.
useful
My
map.
life has been so much better since I had the in Shadowlands
Yeah.
anyway. I didn't
Yeah.
really use it much back in BFA because you didn't need to.
Yeah.
In Shadowlands,
Yeah.
that thing is worth its weight in gold, and it's got a lot of weight. You might wonder how we're recording this little bit without any interruption from our baby boy. It's because he's downstairs playing with a World of Warcraft Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, we found it. He loves it. That's all he wants to do.
It's a Shadowlands Rubik's Cube that Blizz sent us a little
Yeah.
while ago as part of like some press pack or something, and he's like,
It's his new favorite thing.
he's either a genius or like the absolute opposite.
Could go either way.
He's a happy
with our
soul. I
child.
suspect it's the opposite. Guys, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Weekly Reset in what was, I guess we can say it now the episode's over, a bit of a slow news week.
Yes, it was.
But it turns out there was still a lot to talk about anyway.
There always is.
Thank you for joining us. If you liked this episode, don't thank us. Thank our patrons who give their actual, real-life money to make all of our videos happen. Patrons. Everyone else, don't listen to this bit. Patrons, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Without you, there'd be a whole lot less Taliesin and Evitel. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, my name is Loco. No, my name is Taliesin from me
And me, Evitel.
and a Nyrin too. Until next time, cheerio.